What systems did you put in place this year that was not in place during the last election?
In terms of what?
In terms of election training of agents, recruitment of agents, preparation for the election itself, election day activity, collation of results, and eventually having to do your own independent collation.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the collation, it's a socio-technical problem. If you overemphasize the technical aspect of it, you make huge mistakes. The social side is the human aspect and how these human beings interact within geographical locations. And if you get that wrong, it's going to be very difficult for you. Okay. So the party decided that the party was going to combine two directorates, the election directorate and the IT directorate. In 2020, these two directorates sat in two separate directorates, but you agree with me that they work together. They had to work together. They work together to an extent, but it is never like when you have one leader who is overseeing the two. I think that was a very important decision that the party made. The second aspect is, and not to boast about what I did in terms of leading the team. President Mahama in 2020 would never have allowed somebody who is very proximal to him to be given such an appointment, because he's always very sensitive, ultra sensitive about widows who are very close to him, because already the issue of proximity to power is empowerment is very pervasive in our politics. You think that once you are close to a leader, these people are already privileged by people, so why add additional duties which may be misconstrued as even post instead of seeing it as work to be done? So towards 2020 election, I do not believe that he may have even considered it. Even when the national chairman, Esedun Ketia, suggested the idea to him, he was still reluctant. And to disclose it, he said, but you do a lot of strategy stuff here, so how are you going to combine it and that kind of thing? And even myself, 2020, there was no way I was going to accept that kind of position. Even this, it took me 4 to 5 months for me to say a yes, because I had to have thorough discussion, introspection with several other people that I will not mention their names for good reasons. So the combination was great. Now, the way we went about it, and let me take the human side. Kojo, Raymond, we trained 153,000 people. As far back as February this year, I had already published the NDC election training manual for polling agents. We trained 153,000 people, not once. In terms of sending people from the national level to go and train them twice. But we also left trainers in every constituency to be training them constantly. So you take Asawase, for instance, and Honorable Muntaka ensured that they trained them like 7 times. Because we went around the country to train 1 trainer per constituency. And the cutoff was that you should either be a secondary school teacher or a tertiary lecturer. And you must also be mathematically savvy.
You mean the agents?
No.
The trainers?
The trainers, yes. The local trainers.
Okay.
So every constituency had a trainer. In addition to the lawyers and the doctors and the engineers who moved from Accra to go and do the first phase of the training. So for instance, I trained all of the 47 constituency trainers in Ashanti region.
Okay.
I trained them myself, personally. Dr. Computer, Mahdi, the rest went. So this Ojitete, they went round. Jakedakon, Dallas, Kevo, Edward Bauer. They went round the country to train 276. What that meant was that by the time the national trainers completed the first phase of the training, we had trainers also embedded with the people. So if they had any further questions to ask, they could teach them. And it was not just training. For the first time, I said, you write exams.
To be an agent.
Yes, to be a polling agent.
I love it.
So they wrote exams. They wrote exams.
Did some of them fail?
Yes.
And what happened to those who failed?
They were taken out.
Opposition for there's no position for reset.
I didn't allow for reset for a particular mark.
Okay.
But for those who made above 40, I allowed for reset.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But below 40, no chance to reset. So some failed. It was difficult because, you know, this is new, and you know very well, perhaps more than I do. Managing change is a very difficult one. Yeah. People had campaigned for executives on the ground, and they had promised them to be polling agents and all that, because it's privilege to be a polling agent. And then a madman comes and says, it's not just about training, you have to write exams, and there's a pass mark that has been communicated. And the kind of questions that you were setting included some kind of analysis, algebra, because you say that the BVD has this figure, and the manual, this number of manual forms were filled, and this number of ballot papers came in, calculate the unused ballots, calculate the, so that is what it was.
Wow.
So after the 153,000, we sieved it and came to 87,000. But the 87,000 meant that we had some polling stations that had 4, but some polling stations did not have at all. So that meant that even though 87,000 could take care of the total on the average, in terms of distribution, we had shortfall. The next layer, teamwork. Professor Alabi, the campaign manager, also set up a center. And theirs was basically pretending to be doing research. So they call people who have been nominated as polling agents or ward coalition officers, and they are researching about blah blah your preference, who are you going to vote for, and we have some of the recordings. And somebody who has been trained, passed, and going to be a polling agent says, I'll vote for number 1. blah, 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 blah. That kind of, we have some of the recordings. So,
wow.
So, because of that quality assurance, we were able to weed out a lot of infiltrators.
Right.
Yeah, we were able to weed out a lot of infiltrators who had also come in. And I think that is very bad, because it is our own people who nominated them to come and serve.
Okay.
And these are things that we will do contact tracing subsequently to identify the people who nominated them.
What up, my people? I go by the name T-Rhyme, aka the stylish rapper, aka Conscious, aka Fire, aka what I say, BBB. You're watching Davcado TV. Keep it locked. Don't go nowhere.